Hi guys, it's Miss Flates. Make sure you're following along in your guided notes. Today we are going to start the Holocaust. So today's lecture is going to be a little bit of an introduction. All right, so first, Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party. We really know most of this, but just to review so everything makes sense. Remember, everything that we talked about in World War II with the battles, that's all going on in the background of what this section of the chapter is, okay? Hitler gained support of the Nazi Party by attacking the hated Treaty of Versailles. We talked about that in the beginning. The German people were down. He took their fear and their hopelessness and used that to really build himself up. Blames all of Germany's problems on the Jews and foreign powers. So Germany has to pay all this money and lose all this land, and we lost World War I, and it's all because of Jewish people. It's all because of these foreign powers, and I'm going to restore the glory of Germany, really building people up and really honing in on the fears and the hopelessness of people to try to gravitate towards something positive, which is what he was giving them, right? Appointed chancellor in Germany in 1933, we know that. Transforms the Weimar Republic into the Third Reich, a total dictatorship. So we talked about in German history that there is the First Reich, the Second Reich, and the Third Reich. The First Reich was the Holy Roman Empire, right? That was what is Germany today. The Second Reich was the unification of Germany. Remember, we talked about that in our nationalism and imperialism chapter. And then finally, the Third Reich is Nazi Germany, okay? All right, Germany under Nazi rule, we talked about this a little bit. Hitler wanted to create a master race where Aryan people would be considered a pure race and superior to all other people. So this Aryan race that he considered was the master race, or the best race, better than any other race, any other culture, any other ethnicity, is really, if you go back to our first couple chapters in the beginning of time, we have the Franks, the Anglos, the Saxons, all those Germanic tribes. So the purebred Germanic tribes, they never mixed with the Latins, they never mixed with the Byzantines, with the Greeks, they never mixed with anything else. They're just that pure Germanic blood, blonde hair, blue eyes, never mixed with anybody else, the heartland of our people in Germany. That's what he thought was the best race, better than anybody else, superior in intelligence, in looks, in physical skills, okay? Anti-Semitism, we talked about this. It's a prejudice against Jews, and it's been around for centuries. This isn't something that Hitler created, okay? Things that are anti-Semitic, there's a whole conspiracy about how Walt Disney was anti-Semitic. There have been a lot of politicians, a lot of people throughout history that have been anti-Semitic, meaning that they just have a hate for Jews. We talked about in the Spanish Inquisition in the 1600s, that was really like a first Holocaust where Spanish people were trying to convert Jews to Catholicism. If they didn't convert, they killed them and tortured them. So this hatred towards Jews has been around since the beginning of time. Okay, this isn't something that Hitler just created, but he basically said that Germany and really all of Europe, all of the world needed a cleansing of Jewish people who basically soil and ruin everything that's good in the world, and we needed to try to promote this perfect Aryan, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Germanic race. All right, today we're going to talk about a couple of the Nazi leaders. So we have Dr. Joseph Goebbels. He was the head of Nazi propaganda ministry and controlled all of communications. So that's actually what we're going to look at today, is some Nazi propaganda. We talked about propaganda in World War I. Propaganda is just really used as the media manipulating the mind of society. Okay, things that we see on Facebook or social media today could be considered some type of propaganda. The media, the government, they want you to believe something, okay? So basically Nazi propaganda showing why this Aryan race is better than all other races, why they're more intelligent, why they're better, and why the Jewish race, which really isn't a race, but Hitler considered it a race, why they were horrible, why they were nasty, why they were destroying the world. So this man was in charge of all the propaganda. He also encouraged book burning to eliminate other ideas. So these Nazi officials would burn books written by Jewish authors, Jewish folk tales, anything that had to do about the Jewish culture or was just simply written by a Jewish person, they burned all their books. This is really a small first step saying, we don't want you to have a mind of your own. We don't want your culture to spread. We don't want you to have any ideas or thrive, because they really didn't even think of them as people, okay? So he was in charge of all of those book burnings. There's a movie, I think it's called The Book Thief, and they have a scene that shows those book burnings of Jewish books. Okay, the next Nazi leader, we have Heinrich Himmler. He led the SS, or the Secret Service. This was Nazis' secret police. And we're going to talk a lot about the Nazi secret police as we get into our other chapters, or our other slides. But remember, Hitler is a totalitarian. You can't think any differently than him. You can't behave any differently than him. So how do you enforce this? By having a secret police, okay? And this guy was the head of it. He formed death squads, known as this big, long German word, and we're going to talk more about those death squads that not only killed Jews that they found, but also killed any Germans or Polish people that were against Hitler, because you can't be against him, right? If you were German and you had a neighbor that was Jewish and you wanted to protect them and you wanted to save them and you were hiding them in your basement, then most likely these death squads, the secret police, would come and find you and kill you and your family. So this is why it was really hard for most German and Polish people to not follow Hitler when your life and your family's life is at stake. Not justifying everything, but that's just how it worked. He was also one of the architects of the Holocaust and death camps. So again, I'm going to talk more about this as we get into this part of the chapter, but there were concentration camps, and then there were also death camps, and those are two different types of camps that they sent Jewish people to. But he was one of the architects to come up with modes of killing in these camps. So really very sick in a lot of ways. You'll Okay, the next leader, Adolf Eichmann. So he helped to organize the actual Holocaust itself, the concentration camps, the death camps, organize how Jews are going to move or get shipped from one place to another. So like I said, was in charge of transporting Jews from the ghettos to the concentration camps. What that means, and I'm going to talk about that in my next PowerPoint. So the concentration camps weren't the first thing that they did. There were a lot of processes and a lot of steps that they went through before we actually got to the concentration camps. First, they put Jewish people into ghettos or little neighborhoods. After they realized that didn't work out, it got overpopulated, then they sent them to the concentration camps. But that'll make more sense once I get to that chapter. But just know this guy, when we talk about that, he was in charge of organizing all that and organizing the transportation of people. Okay, so anti-Semitic propaganda, like we said, the Jews were blamed for things such as robbing the German people of their hard work. Nazis would create posters to scare people into being afraid or into hating Jews, and Nazi used Jews as a scapegoat for all of their problems. So everything that's wrong with Germany, everything that's wrong with the country is because of the Jewish people. So the Nazis and Hitler were really good at using these manipulation techniques, okay, to try to scare people. And the things that they would have in this propaganda to manipulate German citizens and Polish citizens into hating Jewish people would be things such like Jewish people, they grow horns and they put spells on you, and they're actually related to vampires and they never shower, and just like crazy things that wouldn't even make sense, but just really dehumanizing them. That's a good word, dehumanizing them, and saying that they're witches and they grow tails at night and fangs and they hunt and they eat children, like just crazy things to really make them look like they're not human, and that's why it's okay that we're not treating them like human beings, because they're not. That was their whole point, okay? Dehumanizing. All right, so what I'm gonna have you do next is I have a couple propaganda posters that I'm gonna show you, and in your guided notes for each one, I just want you to answer what you see. Okay, so image, what are the images or objects that you see? Action, what's happening? Symbolism, what are the images or actions trying to represent? What do they symbolize? And purpose, why was this created? What is the message that it's trying to convey? Okay, so just like a quick sentence or couple words for each one. So we're going to go through them quickly. So this is poster A. You see there's a man. This here, if you don't know what it is, this is called the Star of David, and it is symbolism for the Jewish faith, right? Okay, so this is a poster, a Jewish man. Look at the objects. What do you see he's doing? What do you think it represents? Symbolism, purpose. If you need to pause, go ahead and pause. Also look at stereotyping and caricature. So caricature is the distortion of features. Okay, if you were to ever get a caricature done, like at a fair or something, they're gonna make, your eyes look bigger, your ears look smaller, or whatever it is. And how did they use that stereotyping or caricature in this propaganda? Okay, here's poster B. This poster was actually for a movie that was made. Just look at how are they portraying Jewish people. Again, that stereotyping, caricature. What do you think the purpose was? How does it make you feel if you were a German citizen being told that Jewish people were basically monsters trying to ruin your life? How would this poster make you feel? Okay, here's another one, poster C. A big tactic that they used is that they referred Jewish people to mice or to rats, basically just that they were similar to rodents and they were infesting our society, okay? They were dirty like rats. They would multiply like rats, and they're infesting our lives and ruining our government, ruining our economy, ruining our lives like an infestation of rats, and we need an extermination process, which is literally what they came up with, is an extermination process. And that just shows the length of the Nazis really viewing them as rats or mice and trying to get German citizens to view them like that also. Okay, here's poster D. Again, we have the Jewish star. What do you think this picture represents? He's taking a mask off. If you were even, the same age that you are right now, you're a teenager, or say you're younger, you're a child, or you're an adult, and you see these all over your town, all over your city, how is that going to make you feel? Do you think that these posters did a good job portraying fear in a certain way? Why wouldn't you listen to what the government is telling you? And why wouldn't you listen to a government that's making you feel really good and letting you blame all your problems on someone else? And then seeing all these scary posters everywhere, it seems like, oh, I would never believe that. But if this was all over social media, it's really easy for the media to influence you. Okay, and then poster E, I think this is the last one. Again, we have the Star of David over here. Think of that stereotyping, the caricature, look at the objects, the images, the symbolism, look at the action, what he's doing. If you need to pause it, to go ahead and fill out your guided notes. All right, and then the last thing that I want you to answer in your guided notes, overall, how were Jewish people portrayed in the Nazi propaganda? Answer in 5 to 6 sentences. So again, this was just a really quick introduction and overview. Tomorrow, we're really going to be getting into the nitty-gritty. All right, good job, guys.